Welcome back to Lore Meets Reality. You guys asked for the return and we decided to try it with 3 new videos, so let us know in the comments down below anything you want us to try and do research for, and let you know if there's a way for it to actually exist in the real world. Now for today's video, we decided to start with something a little fun and a little bit interesting. This isn't a question of does it exist, this is a question of it does exist, and I'm gonna tell you why it exists. So let's move forward. Now, I've always wished my video games were real. Just picture going to the Golden Saucer in Final Fantasy VII, or maybe hanging out with your buds in Los Santos, or just going crazy in Chicago from Watch Dogs. No wait, Chicago's actually real, isn't it? But did you ever consider how cool it would be to hang out in Silent Hill? Well, you know, minus the Japanese demons of representation. But just picture hanging out in a completely abandoned ghost town that my favorite game series was actually based on. It would just be freaking amazing. Well, maybe my ideas for fun are a bit different from yours, but you can just actually go to Silent Hill if you really wanted to. Silent Hill exists in the real world as Centrella, Pennsylvania. Now I know that in the games the town of Silent Hill is based in Maine, normally, but the town of Centrella is used frequently as a background for many horror movies, and most notably it got used as the basis for the real world representation of Silent Hill. So let me explain. Back in 2006, Konami approved the movie of Silent Hill to be created. Now we all know the movie wasn't that great, as much as I wanted it to be, but one thing that you can't deny is that the town that they found to use looks and feels like the real Silent Hill game. So, let's explain what happened to the poor fate of the real Silent Hill, and how close is it to our beloved game. Well, after going through the town's history, a lot of bizarre things happened. Originally, the area was sold to colonial agents in 1749 from the local Native American tribes. Boy, I remember there being some problems with Native American burial grounds in Silent Hill. Eventually, Route 61 was built alongside it as a major highway, and a coal mine was discovered beneath it. But it was in 1854 that the town would eventually be converted to a mining town and would eventually house 3,000 miners. Now, due to the overabundance of miners, the town would become home to problems with the Molly Maguires. The Mollies, as they were called, were a secret society of Irish and Irish-American coal miners, and they were believed to be active during the late 1800s until eventually they were supposedly disbanded after a series of arson, murder, and theft charges. Well, the first notable interaction with this minor secret society is when they killed the founder of the town in his buggy one night. Well, those men were captured, but the town then became a hotbed for Molly's activity. Now, anyone who's played the Silent Hill games understands that the games is full of secret societies and cults, so this is kind of interesting. But to add to the similarities, the first Roman Catholic priest to call Centrella home actually cursed the land of Centrella after he was attacked by 3 members of the Mollies. His curse stated that there would eventually be a time when only the church would remain in the town. Now eventually the leaders of the Mollies in the town would be hung, just adding to the deaths that the town saw. But it was rumored that the descendants of the Mollies stayed in the town until the 1980s. Now also keep in mind that in the early days it was common to die in the job while being a miner. So add those deaths to the amount of deaths that the Mollies caused, plus just general deaths of the time and age that this whole thing happened. So as time went on, the town would grow, and at its peak at 1890, the town would have 7 churches, 5 hotels, 27 saloons, 2 theaters, a bank, a post office, and 14 general stores. But here is where things went from a town of an interesting history to a town that would eventually become known as Silent Hill to many fans. In 1962, the town saw many more ups and downs due to World War I and the stock crash, but a fire was started in the coal mines beneath the town. There's a few arguments over what actually started the coal fire, but it would appear that the local firefighters were burning trash and couldn't seem to get it to go out. What they didn't realize is that the trash pile was actually linked into the coal mine, so by the time they figured out what was going on, it was way too late and the fire was burning beneath the town in the coal mines. At this point, it would appear to be a series of running out of funding to stop the fire, and the legislator just not moving fast enough to stop the fire, but eventually, the entire town would be sitting on top of a burning fire. This would cause a lot of smoke to pop up wherever it could find holes, and as time would go on, the heat would open up more holes into the town, filling the town with smoke, steam, and fogging things up. But the town continued to attempt to survive and ignore this issue. Eventually, in 1979, they began to realize just how bad things were getting when the local gas station owner realized that the gas tanks were about 172 degrees. Attention would then grow to the little town until 1981 when a young boy fell into a sinkhole that had opened. The sinkhole was actually 4 feet wide and 150 feet deep. It was also blowing hot steam and lethal levels of carbon monoxide. Seriously, when hell is opening up beneath you, it might be time to consider leaving. Well, things would get worse and worse until 1984 when the US Congress allocated $42 million to relocate the residents of Centrella. A few families chose to stay behind though because it was only an option to leave at this time. And then in 1992, it was required for everyone to leave the area because all of the buildings were being condemned. Though even at this time, many residents refused to leave the area. And it wasn't until 2002 that the post office would actually just revoke their postal code. But even without a postal code, things would continue as people still refused to leave the area, and the state entered into a legal battle to have the residents removed. It was believed that this was an attempt by the state to lay claim to all the coal that was still beneath the town burning. Because after looking at it, the coal was believed to be worth millions of dollars if they could figure out a way to finally put out that fire. But in the end, the residents won the legal battle and are allowed to live there until they die. The town now stands mostly torn down with only a few remaining buildings. You can supposedly see the fire burning from the cracks that it's created, causing an orange glow from the fire at night. Or, if it's burning off the chemicals in certain areas, it'll actually be a blue glow. Overall, the story of Centrella is actually a really sad one, and if you want to see a full video on it, I'll link the video down below. While I wouldn't wish what happened to this town to ever happen, it is a cool thought to think that you can basically walk around Silent Hill, minus the demons and the other dimensional stuff, that causes deaths and things like that. Now, I couldn't find any real evidence of the town of Silent Hill originally being based on Centrella from the original game, but I wouldn't doubt that they did a little bit of research to find out about it before they started their game. Plus, by the time we get to Silent Hill 2, it almost looks identical, even down to the cracks and breaks in the roads leading to sinkholes. But hey, if you really want those demons from the game, Universal Studios did do a Silent Hill Haunted Maze for Halloween Nights in 2012. The only thing I think that could have made it freakier is if they hosted the event in Centrella, although that may have been in poor taste. I hope you guys enjoyed our slight return to Lore Meets Reality, and ask any questions you want us to do research on down below. Next week's video is going to be talking about how Watch Dogs could actually exist in the real world, and why hasn't it existed up to this point. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time right here at Eligible Monster.